Mr. Sriram Viji is currently a board member and managing director of Brakes India, which is a leading manufacturer of automotive braking systems and ferrous castings in India. Brakes India has over 8,000 dedicated employees across 15 plants in India, supplying systems and components to global OEMs. Sriram is MBA from the University of Michigan, Masters in Computer Science and Aeronautics at Stanford University, and BTech from the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. For today's session, Mr. Sriram Viji is our keynote speaker, and I welcome him for his August address. Over to you, sir.
Honorable Minister, Sri Jagdish Vishwakarma, IAF President, Sri Devendra Jain, Organizing Committee Chairman, Sri Subodh Panchal, dignitaries on the dais, exhibitors, participants, members of the press and media, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all once again to the 70th edition of the Indian Foundry Congress and IFEX 2022. As we start our deliberations today, over the course of the next 3 days, there are two horizons we need to look at. One is the short term, discussing what is on the top of mind for all of us, the here and now, our operations and commercial viability. The other is a long-term horizon, where we need to focus for sustainable value creation. Over the past years, much of our time has been focused very much on the short term. Well before COVID hit us, the industry had already entered a slight slowdown in 1920. You're all aware of the challenges we have faced over several years, with economic slowdown, as the pandemic hit us with a lockdown starting in March 2020, and even beyond that, the unheard of commodity price increases over the past year. This has put immense pressure on everyone. Profitability has been severely impacted. But the more immediate problem is related to cash flows, burgeoning working capital, price claims that are not settled on time, supply chains that are unpredictable. This has all caused severe constraints, and smaller players are particularly hard hit. Many of our colleagues have been forced to, in some cases, go into severe levels of debt or even shut shop. And this is impacting the industry as a whole. While we are in this situation, when a customer comes to us with new business prospects or growth opportunities, where is the cash to invest? We're still looking at how we get steel scrap for the next day's production. So this requires a little bit more of an urgent action from all of us in terms of going to our customers to get the price corrections on time. It is difficult in such a fragmented industry. Each one of us competes with each other, and while we compete on quality, on delivery, we cannot compete solely on margins. So as an industry, we really have to introspect and think on how we can recover these prices for the sustenance of the industry. And I would like to thank the Chairman, President of the IAF, for actually highlighting this issue and urging us all to take action in this regard. There are also other issues that does trouble the industry. Unpredictable demand scenarios, operating climates are difficult due to the COVID restrictions. Logistics costs have started to increase tremendously, both on global container freight as well as domestic freight, with the increasing costs in fuel. And there is definitely a lot of uncertainty in the market with rising interest rates. The war between Russia and Ukraine have all caused a lot of volatility. However, despite all this, I'm still optimistic about the years to come, about our future, especially for India on the global stage. While it's imperative that we solve our problems of today, I think the opportunities that lie ahead of us are quite bright. And let me tell you why I am hopeful. One, the Indian government has done a lot of work in the last years, both via infrastructure growth as well as via reforms. And this is something that will help the economy recover once we get over these turbulent times. Our Honorable Prime Minister has set the stage for resilience and self-reliance through the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. And this, along with other initiatives such as Make in India, the Digital India Mission, and Skill India, will set a platform for growth. The government has also announced and kicked off the PLI scheme, covering across 14 sectors with an outlay of 3 trillion Indian rupees. India's manufacturing will get a huge boost from this, especially in the automotive sector. This has attracted approximately 75,000 crore investment over the next 5 years, and 20 OEMs and 75 component makers have been approved by the government under this scheme. On the infrastructure front, the government has constructed 1.4 lakh kilometers of national highways in the past 7 years. The capacity of our ports has increased by 100%. Railway lanes have been modernized, and many mega projects have been completed. This has also set the stage for multimodal connectivity in our country. However, one of the largest transformations that I would like to highlight is the introduction of GST. We may have seen some initial teething troubles, and some sectors may have been affected adversely. But in the long run, such a wide-reaching policy change has a tremendous impact and ability to grow our economy. This really sets the stage for India for long-term growth by unifying the economy as a nationwide economy. We are not sailing ahead without challenges. We have a growing and evolving economy, and there are many aspects that we can improve further. Land transport can definitely get better with last-mile connectivity and even better highways for quick transit. Power costs are high, and power availability in some cases is a challenge. Further, as you may have all recognized, we still have a skill gap in several sectors, including in manufacturing. And while the government is taking initiatives, we must all do our part to skill our workforce and enable the next wave of growth. But progress is steady, and this is why I'm hopeful. The ease of doing business in India as a global ranking has increased from 142 in 2014. We have jumped 79 positions to 63rd globally by 2020. This is surely a sign of the direction our country is headed. So if we look at the balance, the positives definitely outweigh the negatives. We have a high level of stability on the global stage, and I'm optimistic that we are on the right path, the right trajectory to cement our place as the economic powerhouse in the global economy. So with this optimism in the backdrop, I want to discuss a little bit about the topic that I picked today, which is aiming higher and reaching further. This is a little bit of a vision of how we can transform our industry to become more respected domestically and an industry that can help drive exports globally. The Breaks India Foundry Group started with ferrous castings in 1983. Our journey started as a captive supply for our braking project, and this was due to the unavailability of castings at that time. Our chairman, who was responsible for commissioning this project, did so with the support of a partner. And like many, we made many mistakes along the way. We struggled to pour our first metal. There's a commonly held belief that all you have to do is buy the right equipment and anybody can make a casting. But we in this room know better. It takes a lot from the right raw material, the right metallurgy, the right pouring parameters and cooling parameters, methoding and gating, all the way to finishing. It's a challenging process, and I think many have started to realize this in the years. It's easy to pour metal, but hard to get a good casting. So after much learning, we were able to successfully develop and manufacture safety-critical castings. We went on to invest in a high-pressure molding line, green sand line, and grew the business slowly and carefully. In the past several years, we have developed our competence and started to export our products. Now, almost 40 years later, we have 11 high-pressure molding lines across 4 locations. I must also acknowledge our investments in Gujarat since 2010. After a visit to the IFC, our team, with the help of Mr. Subodh Panchal, who's on the dais, and the support of the entire GIDC team, set up a foundry and a braking plant in the Jagadia Industrial Estate. We have invested over 250 crores in this and employ over 1,000 people there. And this has run very successfully over the past 12 years and supports not just domestic but several export requirements. When we talk about aiming higher, it is about producing castings that have a value beyond the kilograms of metal that we sell. The moment our products go on the weighing scale for payment, we are going down the slippery slope of lower profits. So I'll pose a question to each one of you. How do we need to operate so that we can add value to our products? How do we create castings that customers want and that they need? While low cost is obviously a mandate for all of us, we need to determine what it is that creates value in the metal that we pour. There are several niches in the market, and each one of us should be clear where our niche is and where we want to play. For Brakes India, it happened to be safety critical castings, given our starting requirement. We had to make several large investments in design, in flow analysis, solidification to overcome hidden porosities, in radiography, and even functional tests for the end product that we produce. But each one of us must understand where our own value lies. This could be in intricately cored castings, it could be in small batch size production, it could be in high surface finishes, but we have to understand what is it that drives value. If you're familiar with strategy frameworks, this is what we call building a sustainable competitive advantage, or what Mr. Warren Buffett would call building a moat. So when we are able to understand what it is about our products, about our customers and our business that can build this moat and create value, that is the way I think each of our businesses will succeed and thrive. Even today, we have to continue to improve. And at the Brakes India Foundry Group, we continue to invest in equipment, in automation, and with experts across the globe to improve our process. Aiming higher and understanding our value is a precursor. It's a precursor to reaching further. It's only after several years of working on our internal quality and processes that we got our first chance to export castings. Export was a very challenging and difficult prospect many years ago, but today the opportunities are far greater. Many global customers, some of whom will be visiting over the course of the 3 days we have set up purchases offices in India. And castings is quite high on their target list of items to buy. However, for them, in my discussions, buying castings is a challenging proposition. There are literally hundreds of foundries in the country, many with similar equipment and many with similar capabilities. They struggle with the right trade-off between cost and quality and supply risk. They have to be careful where they put in their development efforts given the costs of validation in the automotive world. So therefore, they end up going with players who already have a proven track record. So this is why each of us has to start early and win that first export order. That is typically a mandate for you to grow your exports exponentially. We must also be ready to scale up and showcase this capability. While the first contract is the hardest to get, it can really reap benefits in the long term. With the size of the global market and the relative cost advantage that India still has, our domestic foundries can fulfill the promise that we've been hoping for as a China Plus One and gain an ever-growing proportion of the global casting requirements. This, I believe, is the true opportunity that lies ahead of us. This will also be the biggest challenge that we face. If we look at what is going to change in our industry, scale will be one that I see changing dramatically. As we become a more prominent supplier of global castings, we will be forced to invest, and this might mean a consolidation or the growth of several foundries. In the longer term, there are other factors that we have to be aware of. Inflation is on the move and costs in India are rising. This is a mandate for us to start looking at automation, not just for cost, but also from a quality perspective. As we scale up, labor dependence is difficult to manage, and we have to work on both skilling as well as automation in our journey to scale up. The other area of focus is to reduce carbon emissions and achieve, at some point of time, net zero. As evidenced in the Paris Climate Accords that occurred and the recent COP26 conference, the world is surely and definitely moving in this direction. In this regard, our industry will face pressure to move in the same way. We are an energy-intensive industry, but we can start by sourcing low-carbon power, that is via wind, solar, or other renewable sources like hydroelectric power. We also have to work on improving our efficiency, as well as using, recycling, and renewing our other resources like sand. We have to work on creating a more sustainable foundry. This is a critical area of focus for Breaks India, and we have started to invest and work towards how we can also become a green foundry. We will look for support from the government on policy as well as the power sourcing to help us achieve the zero net carbon emissions over the course of the years. So with so many structural changes on the horizon, I will just highlight the few imperatives that I feel we must look at. The first is our very short term, an urgent need for financing to recover costs and ensure our profitability. This is to weather the current storm. The second is to identify and exploit a niche where we can be successful as an individual foundry and become more profitable and build a strong balance sheet. It is after these two that I really see the true opportunities for growth, where we can tap into the global castings markets and become a global supplier of castings. I look forward to all our companies taking part in this journey and coming out stronger at the end of it. This conference, coming after a gap, I think is surely a testament that we are headed in the right direction, and the interest levels for such a journey are with all of us. After this, I must congratulate Sri Subodh Panchal and the entire organizing committee for putting together this event, as it is the need of the hour. Thank you for getting us together and arranging a fabulous array of speakers, exhibitors, and panel discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your address. We appreciate it, and we wish good luck to your company and also to the industry.